again, everybody. Today I've got the transmission kit for Old Green's transmission. It comes with all kinds of good stuff. New bearings, washers, O-rings, new needle bearings. There's a bunch of those. New seals, a new tail shaft seal. Some of this stuff I won't use because of the fact that this is for multiple transmissions. It's for a 3-speed or a 4-speed, and Old Green's is a 3-speed. So like I said, this is not the gears and all that kind of stuff. So we are just putting in the bearings, seals and stuff. Okay, there's a magnet right here in the bottom of this case, and it was completely covered with metal. It's a regular round magnet like you would find on a speaker or something, so not really that strong of a magnet. So I have a neodymium magnet, which is 2 or 3 times as strong. So this will actually rip the little pieces right off of the other magnet, and that's what I did. I'll show you. Let me take this cover off. Pull that out. Shifter assembly. Needs a little bit of cleaning itself. Down inside of there, I don't know if you can see it. There's a magnet right down in there. And there's a little bit of something right there. So all you gotta do is really take this smaller magnet, take it and stick it down in there, and it has enough power that it will remove the debris off of the other magnet. There's not much coming off. I already got it all off the other day. Okay, so in here, of course, we got all our gears. What I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to try to use some of this diesel fuel to clean inside. Let me clean these up a little first. Ooh, it's got some wear on it. It's clean, it's just got some wear to it. Okay, so there's that. Nice and clean. Now, to clean the inside of this, like to get inside of all these shafts and stuff, I think I'm going to pour some of this into the case, and I'm going to work the case some, maybe swish it around, I don't know. Let's see here. Because these bottom gears, I just can't. Well, okay. So what it is, I don't have the parts for the lower gears. Apparently that didn't come in that kit. So, I can't use the kit that I got to rebuild those. I don't think they need it though. That's not where my noise was coming from, so. Run this inside of the diesel fuel a little bit. You can hear this one is rattling, this shaft. That's what the rattle is. Okay, so now I want to take off my front cover here and just start pulling stuff apart. here to clean. Now, this last time just kind of came out. I think I'm going to want this up. There it is. This washer is important. That's going to go down in there like that. And there's another one here that goes on top of that. Yeah, like that. Okay, so yeah, that definitely needs a new bearing on it. This right here, sliding gear, it slides back and forth like that. Clean this up. Now there's a snap ring in here that needs to be released, and this whole thing should come out. But the problem is, this snap ring, if you can see it, has to be opened and pushed on both sides. And it needs to stay there long enough to knock the whole thing out that way. Okay, so I've got this pair of pliers. They're actually pliers made to take those clamps off of hoses, like the factory hose clamps off of cars, and they work really well, really good for that. But I took my grinder and I grinded a slot on both sides, since it's essentially made for stuff like that anyway. I figured it's not going to hurt. And maybe now, if I can catch sides of that, okay, well that took longer than what it should have. Yeah, like I was saying, this snap ring right here goes around this bearing. See the groove in the bearing. And then it also goes into this groove. You have to get this snap ring pushed into that groove in order to have the bearing slide out. So I had quite a bit of trouble getting that to do what I wanted it to do, but I finally got it out, so there we are. Okay, now this part, I need to try to get this speedometer gear off. Speedometer gear right here. And then the snap ring, and then this bearing should come off, and this gear. And then I can clean them all separately before trying to put them back together. Okay, so that is probably not the way you get that off. I kind of beat that to death. And I heated it and everything. And had all kinds of trouble getting that speedometer gear off. Now, I may try to clean it up, see if I can make it where it looks like it'll work. But if I can't, old Green might just be getting a GPS speedometer. Or I may just find another one. That would make more sense. Okay. And the rest of this, I took my tie rod end puller and just put in there, and this pretty much just pulled right off of there. So, it needs to go back on, the new one does, with that groove facing that gear. And I did notice this gear will not come all the way off. It stops right there. So I'm going to clean this gear up the best I can, because apparently I can't even get this washer off here. Yeah. So I'm going to clean this gear up the best I can, inspect it, make sure it's not cracked or nothing like that. It looks good. I don't see any busted spots on it. And I am going to put it back together. New bearing. And then we'll work on the other end. 207. And this is a 306. And this is a 306. Okay. That's what it is. Now, one difference, it doesn't have the seal on the inside. So, that's different. Okay. And the seal went toward the inside. You can tell because when I pried it out, I pried on the seal. And you can hear this bearing. This bearing is hot, by the way, because I was heating the whole shaft up with a torch. There's part of my noise. Okay. So, compare the... Yep. They are identical. And okay, so I kind of propped it up in this little step thing. And I'm going to try to carefully pick this down on there. Without losing it. And without damaging anything. And if you notice, I'm picking on the inside because I don't want to pick on the outside of the bearing. That's very bad for bearings. You're putting unnecessary load on the bearing and you will cause premature wear. And there we are. Okay, that's all the way back. Oh yeah, nice quiet bearing. That's what we needed. So now, the ring. Alright, so I finally got this little clip ring on here. I'd say there's a trick to doing it. I don't know what the trick is. I just know it needs to go from here down to this little groove. So the only thing I can think of, I took it and took my tie rod end puller. It's come in handy again. And I spread it by pulling it down over it like this. I took vice grips and clamped on it. Took a hammer and hit it on both sides until I got it. This one's a little bigger. I can just work this one down. Worked it down like that and held it like that out. And then I could put it over it like that. And then remove this and it clipped right on. So, I don't know how you're supposed to do it, but that's how I got it to that far right now. Now I'm going to take this old bearing and I'm going to try to slide it on down. There it is. New bearing installed. Okay, so what I did, I took my grinder and just try to straighten these out and smooth out the top of it. Yeah, there's one more spot right there. But what I'm actually going to try to do is, when I put it on, I'm going to try to go a little farther than it was before, so that the gear is riding more over on this side than over there. So maybe it might not chew the gear up too bad. We're going to find out. I'm going to put it on here. And we'll use our trusty bearing to come back here. I think it's almost there. Okay, that's where it was. I'm gonna go just a tap more. Maybe one more. Okay, that may have actually pushed it too far, but I want to get it away from the chewed up. Burning sounds really bad now. I wanted to get it way away from where it's chewed up, and maybe that may give this little gear a fighting chance, because it'll be more over here instead of being here. That I think will work. Okay, so we have, this shaft is basically done. I'm going to clean this up a little more. I mean, that looks pretty good. Pretty smooth. The gears all look good. That one spins really good. That, of course, it's brand new. It spins good. So I think this shaft is ready. There we go. There it is. Now I clean this up. That thing doesn't look too bad. That's good, because they didn't give me another one. But they did give me this, another seal. Now, I believe we're going to use our old buddy here, the bearing. So let us drive it in evenly. There we go. Okay, now I want to make sure this seal is not dry whenever I put the dry shaft back in it. So, some good old grease and right around it. Just barely got it. Yep. Okay. There it is. Okay, so that is how you do that apparently. And now if you can see, we have no wobbling at all in the shaft back here or up here. Everything is nice and solid. That's what we want. Okay, so now we've got to work on this part. This is the input shaft. It's where the clutch goes on. What we need to do is we need to get this bearing off, because just like the other one, listen to this bearing. Bearing is definitely noisy. It has seen many, many better days. Now, for this, they have a special tool that you, the proper way to do this is to use a special tool, because you can see there are flats. You might be able to see that. There are flats inside of this nut right here. It's got a washer that's made onto it right here. And there are flats on each side that a special wrench will fit on. You put it on like this, and you can, well, it loosens the opposite way that it should loosen. It loosens, it's a backward threaded nut. So, of course, since the proper way of doing it and the right way of doing it is to use this special tool, we're going to use a pipe wrench. So I'm going to pin it that way. There we go. I think it just broke loose. Nope. There it went. Okay. That broke it loose. And you can probably see it didn't really hurt anything. That nut is fine. And you can take it off like that. There we go. Now we can clean that individually too. This bearing right here. Now, before disassembling and taking this bearing off, I want to remember that this ring is on this side away from that gear. That way when I go to put it back together, I don't get it mixed up. So now, well, maybe I can use a pipe wrench again. Get it so that it's big enough that it sits on that snap ring. There we go. Now we're not touching the gear, so maybe there we go. Our bearing has been knocked off, and now it's going on the that's a perfect fit on there. Okay, so that's our bearing, and this one has a seal on the inside too. I don't like that neither one of these have a seal on the inside of them, but I mean, that's all we have, so I guess that's what we have to use. Now I need to make sure the sizes are exact. Yeah, sizes are exactly right. But I am going to clean this up and inspect this gear and make sure nothing is hurt here. Seems to be one solid piece. Get it back in the old solution. Okay, now as we look at our gears, or our gear here, everything seems to look alright. You can kind of tell that that bearing had spun a little bit on there because the surface is kind of scratched up. It should be fine though, it's not hurt. So okay, put this back on, and now we've got to remember our orientation. And we can check the seal on this one, which I wish this one did, but you can check the seal on that one to see which way it goes. And that shows that the bearing goes like that. Probably one more whack. I do believe we are seated. And let me clean this back up. Now our little nut needs to go back on. Have to turn it backwards. Just make sure that that is good and tight. So, whilst I'm holding it here, yeah. Okay, so now our assembly is ready. Besides, we need, which one is that? We need this ring back on. And the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to put it, like put the edge of it in like that and walk it around until it snaps in. Okay, so now we got our snap ring in. And no, actually this is not any kind of special grease, assembly and lube or anything like that. This is just regular wheel bearing grease. Just what I had, or what I've got, so it should work just fine. Okay, now the really fun part, down in here, you can see this little cavity. Now, supposedly, we have a bunch of these little, we have a whole bunch of these kind of bearings. Where these go is right down inside of there. These ones, the bigger ones, go all the way down. There's a couple of recesses in there, not all the way to the very bottom, but the first recess. Now, how are we going to hold these things in there while we put the thing together? Because they're going to obviously fall out, right? Well, I'm going to use grease. I'm going to put some of this grease down inside of there. And I'm going to take like a couple at a time or something. And I'm going to fish them down in there however I can get them. Screwdrivers, pliers, whatever I can use. And I'm going to try to get all these lined up so that they are in a perfect circle. First, we need our grease. Okay, so these things in there. I guess they gave us 3 extra ones. So now you can, I don't know if y'all can see down into the hole or not. Bearings down inside there, and they are just around, and they are held around like that with the grease. Okay, now we also have a washer. This. And we got a second washer that will go down in there. And what this one does, clean it off good. What this washer does is, still don't know if y'all can see down in there or not, but there is a ridge. This doesn't go all the way down against the bearings. The other washer is against the bearings all the way down there. This one goes on this next level. And then you have more bearings. Have a whole bunch of these. They're thinner bearings. They're actually longer, but they're thinner. And these go on that next level right there. But I'm going to put some more grease so the grease will hold them. Okay, so here we go. We'll take each one of these and just sit them in here like this. Okay, so now I guess we're going to try to slap this thing back together. And we will need this piece. Now the synchronizer rings that came with the kit are not for this. But I never had a problem with old green synchronizers between second and third gear. I've never had a problem shifting old green, so they're still good. They feel good. They seem just fine. So, you know, I think it will be okay. Now, put this back in the case. That. And now the tail shaft needs to come back home. Okay, and I'll stand it up on its end. Maybe that'll make it a little easier. There it went. Alright, so now got our tail shaft in. All that's put together. Now I'm going to try to stick our shaft here with the bearings in here. Carefully. Alright, so we have our transmission back together. Now I need to get the clutch. Apparently the clutch didn't come in yet. Might be in tomorrow or something. I don't know when I'll have time to put it in, but at least we have our transmission all slapped back together, and we're ready to go, I guess. Just need a clutch. Anyway, yeah, my battery went dead, so I had to charge my camera back up. But other than that, everything seems to have went back together. It seems to shift, so I guess that's all you can ask out of a transmission. So anyway, that's my little rebuild on Old Green's transmission. Now, like I said, we're just waiting on a clutch. Be able to slap it in and take Old Green for a drive. Anyway, for right now, I guess that'll be about it for this video. I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll see y'all on the next one.